now we have a very important guest here to tell us a lot about family. Apostle Creppy, all the way from the United States of America. And when you know, you can't family, you can't say busuanity. Why in a year busuanity? There's been a lot of debate whether it has to be solely a man who is the head of the house, and also a woman can also be the head of the house. And your Apostle, we are going to have a very interesting conversation. Apostle, welcome to the Max Morning Show. Thank you. Welcome to Ghana, first of all. But let's start from the starts. In our jurisdiction, when we talk about family, it is that huge. What is a family?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a great privilege to be here. As a believer and a man of God, and also a good student of the Bible, the family has to do with one man, one woman, starting and building the family unit from which they bear children and start raising children together. Okay. So biblically, the family has to do with a man and a woman married in love and in harmony and dwelling together.
Does it have to be legal? Because we have some people who are living as couple and raising a family, but it's not legal, or they've not done the marriage ceremonies and all that is that needs to be done.
That's subjective to what you term legal.
Okay.
I know as a Ghanaian, when two families come together and they give their blessings to their children to live together, in our traditional setting, that's recognized as marriage. And also when you bring that in the Christian perspective, you also have to get God's blessing on it. Some people think that you have to come before the altar before it's considered.
Yeah, that is what I wanted to find out. Do you always have to come before the altar?
Not necessarily. What you are looking for is God's blessing. So it can be done in a house, it can be done in a church, it can be done in the court. I know Ghana, by Ghana's law, you have three sets of marriage. The one you do just at the court, the one you do home with the pastor's blessing, and the one that you sometimes we do the engagement and still go to church and also have the pastor's blessing on it. For me as a Christian, the most important thing is this, that you are getting God's blessing on it. So whether you come or you do it at home, and the pastor comes and blesses it and consecrates it, then you go to the lawyer to the court to go register your marriage. What that does is this: it helps you legally. God forbid, if something happened to any of you, the other partner is protected. You know, and you know this country, if you are married and is not legally married and the person dies, the family comes and kick you out. We don't know you. But if there's a legal back into the marriage, you can use that to go contest and say, hey, listen, we did life together, we hustle and got these things together, so these belong to me and my children.
Okay, so I understand that bit. But again, since time immemorial, when we talk about family, there's always one figure that we look at. I mean, we all grew up in a family. When we talk about family, when we mention family at large, we always look at the father as the figure. Yeah. Does he always have to be the man who is the head of the family?
Yes. Yes. The answer is yes, a resounding yes, because I've often said that we are no wiser than God. There's a role that men play that no other person can be able to play that. A man figure, a father figure who plays that role. There's a role that a mother plays or a woman plays that a man can never do. So when we talk about being the head of the family, yes, the Bible establishes that God wants the man to be the head of the family. And every good woman or wife should understand this and appreciate it because it complements the efforts and the qualities that a woman also brings in.
Okay. Now, in the family where, quote unquote, the woman takes responsibility of most of the things, will the man still be seen as the head? Where the woman takes charge of almost everything in terms of finance, in terms of the upkeeping of the family, in terms of raising the kids and all that, will the man still be seen as the head?
And that depends on the woman. Our world is changing. I live in the United States of America where it seems that the system is structured to favor women more than men. However, every good woman knows that, listen, regardless of how much money I make, regardless of how influential I am, I still have to give that respect to my husband as the head. He may not have the same money or be bringing the same money as I'm earning in terms of work, but that should not negate his responsibility and his role as the head of the family. You submit to the man, even though you're making more money than him, because it's partnership. Because if you do that, you destroy and ruin your family.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so are there times that a man can say, I raise up my hands, the woman should take charge? Let me just see her as the head of this house.
I don't
Does
think,
it make you weak?
It doesn't make you weak. And I don't think that it's proper. You know, for instance, I can use me as an example. I'm married to a very beautiful woman. May 5th will be 22 years I've been married.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know her strength, and I know my strength. Where she's stronger than me, I yield, and I let him take charge and lead in that area. Where she's weak, I take full responsibility, and I lead in that direction. We complement each other. At the end of the day, it is Team Creppy that is winning. But if I'm going to get to a point and say, oh, you know what? Since you have all the money, since you are more influential, I'm just going to back off, and then you do whatever you want. That will destroy the relationship, and that will destroy the home. The children are watching. The children are looking. Because remember, we have to be strong to be able to, raise up responsible children who will become effective in society. And a man must be there to play his role. The woman must be there to play her role as a mother and as a wife in a home.
Of course. Okay. So if I understand that bit very well, it means it's about roles. Everyone playing their role.
Exactly.
As it is known. It doesn't matter the status of the partners.
Exactly.
Whether the woman is even higher than that of the man. But let's look at the three aspects of being the head of the house. Let's talk about the physical aspect first. What does one need to do?
Now, first of all, as a man, you're supposed to be the head. You're also supposed to be a provider. You're also supposed to be a protector. So one, you are ensuring that there's a home for the children, not a house. You can have a house and not have a home. There's a home for your wife, yourself, and your children, where they feel safe, they feel protected. You know, and when we talk about safety here, they have food to eat, they have clothes to wear, and they can sleep soundly. All right? That's the physical responsibility. So the man is supposed to go out there, work very hard, make sure you're keeping roof over your family, you're putting food on the table for the children to eat, and your wife is safe. Because the greatest need of a woman is security. Am I safe? Am I safe? And they are taking out the security of their children, they are taking out security of themselves and their future.
Okay. So you are like the guardian angel of the entire family, everyone in there. But when you fail to provide that, does it weaken you? Does it take off that time?
Then you're not being the man that you ought to be. You're becoming irresponsible. The Bible says that if you do that, you are worse than an infidel, which means that God expects you and God has endowed you to be able to carry that responsibility. I love to do that with pride. For me, that's how I take my pride in, that I'm able to provide for my family. I'm able to make my wife happy. I'm able to feed my children.
Okay, now I am asking this because, there are so many men out there who, through no fault of theirs, they were doing all this, providing for the family, taking care of the family. They give the family a good life, but suddenly they lose their jobs and are unable to find a new one. This is no fault of theirs.
Yeah, and that's different. Yeah. That's totally different. This is somebody who is hardworking, has proven that in the past, life just happened. Circumstances have changed. And so a good wife in moments like that will step up, that ordinarily, this is not how my husband is. But because he has lost his job, he's still trying to bounce back up, and he hasn't found anything yet. So you collaborate, you help. That's not a time to, start disrespecting your husband and talking down your husband. If this was how his nature was from the inception of the relationship, then we can say that, okay, this is a bad guy.
Now, okay. So in doing all of this, I
Mm.
mean, we see fathers as strong figures,
Yeah.
people who are able to withstand a lot. Now, in times of difficulty, I mean, who does he talk to? I mean, there are times that I was home and I saw my father quiet. I could clearly see something was disturbing him, but this is a man who doesn't open up because we perceive him as a very strong man. So where is the safe haven for men when they are going through difficulties?
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, that's a good question. That's why, one, if you belong to a church or you go to the mosque, you look for a spiritual leader you talk to. Number two, you have to have good friends, people you can confide in, colleagues, that you can, hey, things are not going well. I'm going through this difficulty. They will give you good counsel. Yeah. All right. And then number three, have fruitful conversation with your children. Talk to your wife. Yes, for instance, when I'm going through challenges, there are some things that I know my children can understand. But
will your children not perceive you as weak? The father that they've always seen as a very strong man, now telling them about his problems and he not being able to do this and all that.
I remember one time I was going through some difficult time, and I was having a conversation with my firstborn, who's turning 21 this Friday, and she was telling me that, Dad, this is all part of the growth process. I was going through a difficult time in my ministry.
Okay.
And I was having a conversation. And the way she patted me at the back and said, Dad, these are all learning process. These are all growth process. She understood what I was going through. She may not necessarily have the solution I was looking for, but she was there to give me a consoling words that encouraged me. She didn't perceive me as weak. That's when you are having a frank conversation.
Okay.
There are times where I have to take the bull by the horn. And she's seen those moments. So she knows my dad is a strong man. She knows that my dad is a fighter, is a warrior. But this is a moment where he doesn't need my condemnation. He needs my encouragement. And he brought a word that really encouraged me.
Okay, so that is for the physical bit. Now, let's move on and talk about the spiritual bit.
Yeah.
In our society, in the Ghanaian society, usually spirituality has to do with women. They lead prayers even in the night when the whole family gathers and all that. The men barely talk about spirituality and barely involve themselves in that.
And that's an error that must be corrected. Because you see, in the book of Genesis chapter 1, chapter 2, when man has sinned and God came, even though it is believed that it was Eve that was first deceived and then gave the fruit to Adam to eat, God did not go to look for Eve. He went to the head of the family, which is Adam. Now, you're not just supposed to be head when it comes to physical things or when it comes to money, when it comes to the leadership. You're also supposed to be a spiritual leader. The first pastor every family should know should be the man of the house.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be my family's first prophet, my family first bishop, my family first apostle. Now, we have negated this responsibility and given it to other people. If you, the man, you can lead your people, your family, your wife, your children before God in prayer, then you've lost your responsibility. So I think that men must take the responsibility to become spiritual. Lead your family in prayer. Guide your family. Do Bible study with them. For those who are in other religion, whatever religion you are, do what you are supposed to do.
But what do you think that notion stems from, where we think that it's a woman's responsibility to do the spiritual aspect? Because men have a lot. That is what we say. Men have a lot on their shoulders. I mean, providing for the family, going all back and forth, ensuring that your family is in a safe haven, if you can say that. So where does that stem from?
It's natural. I think women tend to be more spiritual and they are more compassionate, more loving. They flow more spiritually than men do. However, this is an assignment from God. So you have to be deliberate. You have to be intentional in taking up this responsibility. Just like you are supposed to provide economically, financially, providing roof over the family, you should also do that. What if I do all these things and at the end of the day, I don't put the fear of God in my children, I don't put the fear of God in my family, and they go wayward? Then all my investment, all my hard working has got wasted.
Okay. Now, does he always have to be leading the family in prayers and gathering
Not
them
necessarily.
around? Yeah.
Not necessarily. Like I said, again, role playing, sharing responsibility, knowing who is good at what. Okay? So if I think that my wife is better in leading us in prayer, coming out with, good spiritual content for us to all participate in, why not?
Then the father has not faulted when on Sunday he gathers the entire family, drops them off at church and goes.
That's bad.
Why is it bad? I mean, you've done your part by leading them to church. You just drop them off.
We do it together. No, we do it together. It's a family affair. So you coming to drop us and going home, you are not part of the family.
I'll come back and pick you when you are done with church.
We're supposed to sit in church, listen to the same message. So we are all being fed spiritually. We are all growing together. Guess what? It's a beautiful thing. But to just drop us, I remember growing up, my dad would just give us money. Hey, guys, go to church. Whether we got to church or not, he didn't know.
He's done his bit.
Yeah. And then we used to use the money, the offerings they gave us, and these were probably like in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then these double-decker came.
Oh, okay.
And we used the money to go buy tickets, sit at the top of the double-decker, and be looking at town and come back. And then you ask us, how was church today? And we make up stories. But can you imagine if you have taken us by the hand and then led us to church? We all sit in church, and then we hear the same sermon and come back home. It was only by the grace of God some of us got saved. Because if God had intervened, I'm sure would have turned to something else.
Of course. And that is Apostle Creppy. Apostle, now let's get to one part that interests me most, the psychological part. I'll use the typical Ghanaian society as a reference. I grew up in a family where I barely had conversations with my dad. It was mostly my mom. My dad was barely around because of work and other stuff. So most of the trainings, most of the things that I know up there was given to me by my mom. And it is typical of most Ghanaian societies. Fathers barely have conversations. They barely get into the minds of their world to even know how things work. I mean, if I'm given a homework and I come home, it's my mom that asks me, why your homework and have you done it? I mean, it's the mothers that are closer to us.
Like I said, it's an error. And these are some of the things. I also went through similar things. And our society has seen as, we don't communicate. But it's changing. I'm beginning to see a new trend now.
Okay.
And by the grace of God, some of us who are now exposed, we've had exposure, we realized that sitting out with your children to have conversations is a beautiful thing. Going out eating together is a beautiful thing. You see, that bonding between a father and a son, a father and a daughter, has a tremendous impact in the upbringing.
Tell us about that.
If you are not communicating, for instance, children must hear their dad tell them, I love you. If your son hears you saying, I love you, if your daughter hears say, I love you, and they grow and they meet a stranger telling them, I love you, it's not strange to me. I've been hearing this all my life. If that word is not used in our family, and we don't tell our children to give them affirmation, I'm there for you, I love you, I care for you, and they meet a stranger, and the stranger tells them, hey, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever met before, and I love you, they fall for it. Because we all crave for these things inside of us. So if we are not getting it from the family and stranger give it to us, they use that to lure us. That's a lot of people are surprised. Well, I gave them everything that I'm supposed to give them. I don't know why she's falling for these. You are just a teenager. You're supposed to go to school. Why are you not going to school? Why are you following these big men? Why are you following this guy? Because you didn't give them what they are looking for from the family. And we have it. Even though we don't talk about it, we all need it. We need that love. We need that affirmation. We need that, constant reminder that, hey, your dad loves you, your mom loves you, your siblings love each other. If that is not there, you're going to have problems. That's why people go to school and they start acting up. Some of the social vices we are having here is because of the breakdown of the family. The things that we need that we are not getting. So for instance, you are sharing your experience. Yeah. What if your dad was there? What if your dad was having that conversation with you? Maybe you would have learned a lot. Thank God your mother played a role. So your mother, and then again, that's the nurturing natures of mothers. They nurture. So they're going to call you and teach you things and say things to you. But there are some things you can only get from your dad.
But it seems that the detachments also sometimes allow the mothers to paint a picture and eat into our minds and give us a clear picture that your dad is feared. Your dad doesn't really want to talk to you. I am the one that is always there for you. So we grow very attached to them.
Yeah, which is bad, unfortunately. And then in situations like that, when things don't go well, then you see the mothers tend to have the children defending them and fighting for them. I think, like I said, in my recent observation, this is changing, which is a good thing, you know. So we don't end up repeating what our parents
Now,
do.
I want to find out if I have a child that is maturing from the age of about 5, usually their brains begin to open up, whether a boy or a girl. As a father, what kind of conversation can you be having? What kind of psychological effect can you have on such a kid?
First of all, just identify their potentials. Or let me put it this way. Assure them of your love. Assure them of your faith in them. Help them to discover their God-given talent and purpose and start steering them. Let them know the potential they carry and what they can become. So the conversation you're having with them is using your personal experiences. And number 2, also looking for great people in society and then telling them, hey, you can be the president of this country. You can own your own company. You can become one of the best lawyers. You can become one of the best, cybersecurity experts in the world and whatever. You are inspiring these children. You are trying to tell them that, hey, listen, you will have the whole world in front of you. You can become anything you can become. That's one of the things that I appreciate when you get to America. From the time you are born, it's been injected into you and telling you, you live in the greatest nation. You can become anything you want. Take advantage of the opportunities that are there and be what you can.
Okay. Now, Apostle, we'll wrap up very shortly, but in a nutshell, who is a complete head of the house? How do you describe somebody as a complete head of the house?
I want to tell you, listen, if you're married, a man married to a woman, the Bible said the man is the head of the family. We're now wiser than God. We can't rewrite the script. Let's leave men to be men. And here's what I want to challenge every man out there. Be the man that you're supposed to be. Lead. If you're a man, lead, take charge, work hard, provide for your family, both financially, spiritually, sociologically, psychologically, everything that the family needs to be a strong family. You do so, and as you keep doing that, nobody's going to push you aside. Women are forced to do what they are doing because the men are not playing their role.
There's a bit of a red herring here. I mean, I've heard debates where women say, yes, men are the head of the house, but they are the neck. And if they don't turn...
And they're very powerful. That's true.
They say if they don't turn, the head doesn't also turn.
That I give it to them. I'm telling you, if a woman said, I'm going to frustrate you, you're done.
Okay. Thanks to Apostle Creppy for this insightful conversation. Apostle, we would love to have you back here again for this one.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, Apostle Creppy all the way from US and Outen in Kadietri.